This is just an experiment. I made a board. I guess if anybody's out there then let me know what state you're in. I'm doing a lot of house cleaning on my device at the same time, so see if we get any interaction. This is all a test, basically. Anyway, I'm going to do my thing. If anybody's there, holler at me. See some people joining. Nothing's popping up. This is all new to me, guys. I'm learning. So it's been a lot of talk about problems with the government, and the issue healthcare keeps popping up. So I've been trying to make changes in that industry for over 35 years now. It's resistant to change. The reason why the healthcare system is so broken is because they choose for it to be that way. That's what they want. It's all just a way to skim off the top. But the Affordable Health Care Act, the government thought they had to get their hands in the cookie jar on that one. I fought the state of Oklahoma in order to protect research that should be out there already. So anyway, I said, let me know. I figure some people are scrolling. Let me know what state you're in if you stick around. I'm in Oklahoma. If you have a topic you'd like to talk about regarding the healthcare reform, let me know. Meanwhile, like I said, I'm going to do some house cleaning on my device till I get some interaction. Just something I'm checking out. I don't know a whole lot about this yet. Somebody's there. Let's see. Got some messages. Let's see. People scrolling. I've done a lot of that too. I was listening to this lady, Maiden, I think it is. She's in California, making a whole lot of sense. Yep. Talking about problems with the government and all the money that they've wasted. And how lobbyists need to basically be thrown out of the whole thing. I agree. I absolutely totally agree. And I'd like to point out that I know I walked into the commissary at the base, Vance Air Force Base, years ago, and on the big TV screen there, they were talking about how the biggest lobbyist in Washington was, the medical system. So, who owns our government? It's a crooked healthcare system. Just kind of waiting for somebody to say something as far as, a topic you'd like to talk about regarding, the healthcare industry. And this might just be short-lived. I'm just checking it out. Anyway, I have videos, definitely. I have videos that I'm making fun of the chiropractic industry because it needs to be made fun of, quite frankly. That's where my specialty lies, actually. I know all the dirt on the chiropractic industry, all of it. I've been in that up to my eyebrows for decades. Oh my God. My grandfather was the best chiropractor in the industry. And you would think that I would be true to the field. They didn't want to, follow his directives. So, they turned out to be the bad guys. And even after I worked on the future board president. I worked on the future board president in 1991. All I said was, I am Creighton's granddaughter and I know the work. That's all I said. The problem was so simple. I mean, he wanted me to take care of him. I asked him, I said, we talked for about 20 minutes, turned into an hour and a half. Grandpa told me, he said, don't tell him you're my grandfather. Don't tell him that I'm your grandpa or you're my granddaughter. Anyway, in our conversation, because what it was that Creighton is my doctor. I need somebody to come learn the work. You know, and somewhere in that conversation, I slipped up and said, Grandpa. And Dr. Thomas Smith says he's your grandfather. I said, Dr. Creighton. And he's like, oh my God, you know, Jesus Christ is in town, is basically his attitude. Anyway, his whole entire attitude changed. He knew who I was talking about when I said Dr. Creighton to start with. And then I asked him, I said, so do you have a problem? He said, oh yeah, every plumber's sink needs fixing, is what he told me. And I looked him over, found the problem that he knew about with x-rays, without x-rays. And I told him, I said, I know how to fix that. And I mean, he's diving for the floor. That is how easy my grandfather's work should have been made available to the public at that point in time. I have the board president, you know, willing and, you know, needing my assistance in fixing a problem that he couldn't get his colleagues to address or, you know, fix. And here I am, capable and able, willing to do the job. And that is how simple it was. And instead, he blocks the research. Years later, I would be sued for practicing chiropractic without a license. For what reason? Because they don't want to make the changes. They don't want to make the improvements. And they actually try to make a grab for my grandfather's work without actually learning it right. I can still recall Grandpa pounding his fist on the kitchen table a couple of weeks before he dies at almost 100 years old. And he's telling me, you make the chiropractors pay you. You make them pay you. He said, I assure you this is my unique life's research. And as he taught me through the years, he's telling me how I came to conclude the things that he did based on his own cases that he handled. So yeah, it's my grandfather's work. Got a lot of that in my videos, so I'd encourage you to go look at them. 36 years plus. I started in 1988. It was May the 8th, Mother's Day actually, was the day that my odyssey began. And I am a certified nerve signal interference specialist, the only one in the world actually. And what I do is I put the brain and the body back into communication. I do that by eliminating the actual causes, you know, of the reason why the body does not communicate accurately with the brain. And you get the pelvis level, you get the head on top square and centered, you know, appropriately. Stress comes off the spine. There is no, you know, the dens does not rest against the spinal cord. You know, you have accurate communication going on between the brain and the body, and the healer is within. It's that simple. But do you think the healthcare industry wants the information out? No. And they have done some horrible things in order to keep the information quiet. Yeah. So, kind of waiting to see if anybody has anything to say. Got one lady there, looks like. Hello. And let me know what state you're in, what issue you might want to talk about. But chronic pain, from what I have seen, I mean, in all honesty, should be a thing of the past. If it has to do with the bookends, which is the pelvis and the head, if they're off-centered, if the head is off-centered, or if the pelvis is not level, then you square that up, and it's a physical, I mean, you're wrenching the body back into position. It hurts just a little bit, but once that's done, you know, it's worth it. I'll tell you that. Yeah. I know when my pelvis goes out of place, it's like, life is not worth living, you know. I turn to a friend and get it fixed. Swipe right. Let's see, what does it say? I don't even know. I'm learning on this stuff here. Anyway, healthcare reform is so easy. Like I said, it should have been done in 1991 when I talked to Tom Smith. Yeah, healthcare industry. I mean, chiropractic, which is the stepchild of healthcare, could have taken the lead if they'd have done it right. But they have a multi-billion-dollar industry with just cracking you and keeping you coming back, so why would they actually want to fix the problem? That's the point. And manual therapy is the answer, but you got to know how to do it right. The glenooccipital and sacroiliac joints, that's the key. Chiropractors are just now starting to talk about it because I've been vocal for time. I have a website. I mean, I've been up in their faces. I've traveled. I've gone to the Health Freedom Exposition. I've been on the radio. I had a television program. I mean, I made huge waves, and they got all upset, and they, effectively silenced me for a while. So I got sued for practicing chiropractic without a license, and I did win. I won the case. After I won the case, then, the local newspaper, everybody knows how bad the press is, refused to tell the news. They absolutely refused. I had a friend in Mustang, Oklahoma, a veterinarian. He said, make no mistake. He said, if you were news when you got sued, he said, you were news when you won. Well, but they once again, did not want that information out to the public. So that's how crooked our world is. Yeah. So I'm just kind of waiting to see here. And I'm looking. But I don't hurt as a rule. I mean, if my hip goes out of place, yeah, it hurts and it hurts bad. But I turn to a friend to get it fixed. Get it fixed is one and done, basically. And, I don't need continued ongoing therapy. In fact, I don't buy insurance. Talk about a fraud. Oh my God. Here's a little story for you. I, a couple of years ago, had nosebleeds. And, they were pretty bad. I have a sister who's in the healthcare system. She's telling me, she said, go to the emergency room because it wouldn't stop. And I did, at her suggestion. And I know a lot more now about stopping them. In fact, I even know about nutrition to keep it from happening. But at the time, I didn't know enough. Anyway, so I go to the emergency room, and I don't have insurance. And this is the fraud of the insurance insurance industry. Immediately, because I didn't have insurance, the bill, which would have been like $10,000, I think it was, they cut it down to like $2,000, I think it was. So it's like, well, why do people pay into insurance if the provider is going to cut the cost substantially by not having, if the person doesn't have insurance? I mean, the biggest fraud ever is the insurance. And even then, because they ended up hurting me that night, basically, I held their feet to the fire, and I told them, I said, look, I said, if you go to Western Sizzlin, let's say, and they undercook your steak, you're going to get a free meal out of it. I said, so basically, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire on good business practices. And so a $10,000 bill went to zero, absolutely zero. And they tried to collect for a little bit, and I stood my ground. And basically, it's a done deal. They never got a penny out of me. I'm thanking God they didn't kill me that night, because they could have. And I didn't even have to bring a lawsuit. I just, held their feet to the fire on good business practices. Didn't have insurance, didn't need insurance, and they didn't get paid because they didn't do a job. So, healthcare reform, if you have doctors that don't know the first thing about nutrition. That's the first thing they need to do. They need to go back to school and they need to learn about nutrition. If they don't know about nutrition, they don't have any business being a doctor, I can tell you that. No. And secondly, if they don't know about the simplicity of how easy it is, what should be done to make sure that the nervous system is working optimally, and they have to refer out to the specialist at this point in time because they don't know. But they should know at least enough and have the moral fiber to refer out. That's what, it's all about. If they don't know what's something, then they need to send it to the right expert. Well, I'm a nerve signal interference specialist. There was a day, just by me broadcasting on Pegasus, a little public access television station, the health care coordinator, I think it was. I know her name was Karen Worsham. She was at St. Mary's Hospital. Just by watching my programming, she wanted to bring me into the hospital in my specialty. She was so impressed with what I was doing in real time. I was showing real cases in real time. Of course, they wanted that off the airwaves. The chiropractors got together. The medical doctors got together. The people on the boards and that kind of stuff. I mean, it was really weird. The city government, the local press. It was just weird what they did. And I was helping people. But as a medical doctor said, when I talked to, he was with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, he says, you don't have a clue what you're up against, do you? And I said, no, not really. And he said, it's probably a good thing because you wouldn't have tried if you'd have known. But what he told me was, he said, you're actually a threat to the system. That's what he told me. So, I guarantee you their healthcare reform is here, but they honestly don't want it. They don't want it because the system is paying hand over fist, multi-billions and trillions of dollars every year to a system that's broken. So here's the thing, the people have got to start voting with their dollar. If the whole nation of people says, I don't have health insurance. I don't want health insurance. I don't use the system. Outside of going to the, emergency room that one night, for a nosebleed that I didn't know enough about at the time, that ultimately I never paid for, because they didn't do the job. I don't seek any care. I look into nutrition, I use supplements. I swear by cayenne pepper. And I found out about blackberries not too long ago. And as far as squaring up my own frame, I can put my head in place myself. And I got a friend to take care of my hip if it goes out, which it might go out maybe once every year or two. Depends on what I do. And like I said, I don't hurt. So I can take care of myself. And I am 60 years old, by the way. The stress of my life, I've got lines on my face because of it. Like I said, I fought for my grandfather's work to protect it against an illegal grab, an inappropriate grab by an industry that, should have paid for their research and development to improve their standards. And they know where to go to get their standards raised. They know I'm out here. They've known about me for decades at this point in time. And if it came down to it, one phone call, okay, Tammy, uncle, any of the colleges would call and say, okay, we're going to do this right. We know that you know what we're talking about. How could we miss it? We appreciate the fact you've just been stubborn about, not going away. And we finally got a vote of the people, roundabout way through them getting hold of their representatives and telling them, look, we know that you can fix this. We know that that you should have done it already, and it just comes down to getting the right practitioner in there and respected, for the specialists and experts that they are. I'm country. I came from the farm. I'm rough around the edges because of my battle and my fight. They killed my daughter, that kind of stuff, and she survived a car accident, would have killed anybody else. She did so completely neurologically intact. She could move her whole body. She could feel her whole body. Basically threatened to bounce off the wrecking ball that killed her, or hit her, jump up, run out of the hospital, a few scars to show, and that was it. Do you think they would have let that case survive? No. And that's exactly what happened, too. Took them 3 years to do the deed, but an osteopath was in charge of her care. Chiropractic is a plagiarized version of osteopathy, historically speaking. It was a conflict of interest for that man to be on her case. And there he was in charge. And he had a motive. You know, there's no statute of limitations on murder. But nobody wants to believe that a doctor would do that, think that, let alone do it or get away with it. But I guarantee you the system is so broken, that, yeah, they can do that. And then we have the debacle in 2019. I guarantee you they've done it before. They did it to me and my family in 2002, 2003. It was July of 2003. Yeah. I came to their attention. Before that, I went and faced them, head first in the board in January of 2001. They finally sued me for practicing chiropractic without a license after they killed my daughter. And an osteopath, like I said, was in charge of that experience. I am sure that he contacted his board. I'm sure he did. And, I put my 9th and 10th Amendment declaration on the table with the osteopaths. At the same time, they would have said, yeah, we know about her. Can't do anything unless somebody's hurt. Well, there's his motive. And the fact that they actually made a concerted effort to pin her death on me when I was the reason why she lived. They blocked me at every turn. Ultimately, I'm asking for everything she needs. And the more spot on I am about what she needs, the worse her care gets. Because, they are threatened by me. I mean, the doctor himself said that when he found out who she was, his blood ran cold, is what he said. Why would a doctor think that, let alone say it out loud to the mother? Anyway, that's our world that we live in. It's the world we live in. I see one person on there. A bunch of people join. But that's how easy healthcare reform could take place. That's how easy it is. But the people have got to become informed. The people have got to be aware of the, murder that's taking place in the system. The fact that the system is so broken that it allows for that kind of behavior from a doctor who's in charge. It's got to be an awakening. It's got to be an awakening. I'll show you a picture of my little girl. This is her 8th grade graduation picture. Yeah. That's my daughter, August. I'm not going to let her death go in vain. Nope. She's the one that brought in Metaflight because we fought them. Here she is when she's a baby. We fought them. And like I said, they're trying to pin her death on me because I'm the alternative healer. And here she is. And I think it's 1st grade. But they weren't used to people who fight, and that's what I'm built of that. Yeah. And my sister was an emergency room nurse, so I basically had to step back, and I told her, Lane, I said, I can't say a word. I can't say a word. I said, I'm basically Joan of Arc on the battlefield. I said, they killed August. I said, I'm covered in her blood. I said, I can't say a word. And they're trying to pin her death on me. I said, you've got to handle this. You have to handle this. And she did. She spoke their language. In fact, I told the doctor ahead of time, I said, my sister's in the system. She speaks your language. I said, if you do what I think you're going to try to do, I said, she will get you, is what I told him. She will get you. And I heard later that apparently after he did it that morning, he was white as a sheet. I mean, white as a sheet. Like the blood had just run out of him. Anyway, like I said, doctors are killers. That's how I see it. The system is so cracked up and so broken that they're allowed to do it. Yeah, they're allowed to do it. And the real change that people need, myself, my grandfather's research, here I am in between, I was hoping to pass the work on to her. I didn't think I'd live long enough to see it change. I worked hard to see Grandpa. I wanted to see Grandpa see it. So I worked in order to, hope that he would see it. He lived almost 100 years. And ultimately, I figured, well, it's probably not going to happen in my lifetime either. So I figured, well, I'll teach her. And maybe it'll happen in her lifetime, is what I was thinking. And the closer I got, I worked hard to try to do as much as I could, so that I could pass it on to her as success, just waiting to happen. And like I said, they ended up, starving her to death. That's what happened. Over medicated and dehydrated in the hospital while I'm begging for everything she needs. And 3 weeks after this car accident would have killed anybody else. Yeah. There's the show Red Fusion, which I've got a couple of videos recently that features it. Like I said, I'd encourage you to look at some of my videos. They give you links into my website, the information, that you need to be aware of. Anyway, I think it was the COVID-19 thing that woke everybody up. Or at least had the potential of waking everybody up to the problem that I've been dealing with for decades. The healthcare system is broken. And it is an easy fix, actually. It is an easy fix, but it's not about having the money to pay for something that doesn't work. It's about prevention. It's about nutrition. It's about wisdom. It's about having your nervous system at optimum capacity. That's what it's about. And you don't do that with cracking the spine. The only way you can achieve that is to actually take the physical, literal stress off the central nervous system. And that's at a key junction where the head and the spine meet. I am the expert in the world on the atlanto-occipital joint. I had a chiropractor from Georgia one day called me up. She said I was in the top of the search engines for atlanto-occipital joint. And she started out the conversation saying, I'm a chiropractor, but I read medical journals. She said, who the hell are you, is what she wanted to know. She said, nobody knows more about that joint than I do. And I had pictures on my website that actually show the true design. The anatomy textbooks are wrong. And in a 2.5-hour conversation, it went from, who the hell are you, to, oh my God, you are the expert in the world on that joint. And I'm like, well, I guess so. I said, my grandfather's no longer here to speak for himself, so I'm just regurgitating to you what he told me. But, after he won their Centennial Award, he turned his back on the profession, denounced their bullshit, basically, and then turned to the family and, handed it over to his granddaughter. I'm notorious in the healthcare industry. I have made some huge waves. Pissed a lot of people off, I'm sure. But I speak truthfully, and I can back up what I say. I'm consistent. I'm absolutely consistent, and they're not. They're dancing. They're moving into the realm of the atlanto-occipital and sacroiliac joints. And they are out of line because they know nothing about it. If they want to do it right, it's simple. They put their money on the table, and they come and they let me teach them. And that is that's the only way to do it responsibly at all. They're talking about patient safety, public safety. Well, stands to reason that, you pay your dues, you learn it right, you pass the test. You don't just sit back from afar and watch a screen, hope that you can learn it by osmosis. That's what they told me. Oh, you can't learn it by osmosis. I was hands-on with my grandfather in an apprenticeship setting for decades. They're watching each other's channels and then just immediately running out and trying it themselves. It's just lunacy. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Just kind of wait to see anybody. Where are you from? I'm Enid, Oklahoma. North central Oklahoma, right smack dab in the center of the state, about 50 miles from the Kansas border, actually. And I've gotten miracle stories. I mean, I pulled a woman out. She was already in a contorted state. I think it was multiple sclerosis. I think it was. She had a couple family members that had benefited from my grandfather's work. And she was in Emporia, Kansas, and they wanted me to go look at her. So I did. I took my little bench that I got over here and threw in the back of my white pickup and drove up to Emporia, Kansas. And I couldn't stand her up to make the assessment because, she was already, far gone. She was she was drawn up, and she couldn't stand up. So I had to make my best guess, with her in the bed. And I got it right, and I got the hip in place. And it only took about 5 minutes, and she's standing up. Shocked us all. Yeah, we were all surprised. But I know that Grandpa, he talked about, all I know is my Aunt Mavis, her and a woman drove from I don't even know where, probably from where Mavis is at. Thanks, guys, for the likes. Hearts. She drove, Mavis was in Beaumont, Orange County, Texas area. Orange, Texas area. And she couldn't feel anything. She couldn't feel her feet, I think it was, or whatever. She couldn't feel below a certain point. I can't tell you exactly where, but I just know she was handicapped to a point to where she had a special vehicle and that kind of stuff. And I think they ended up working on her in Grandpa's bedroom. I was there. And I heard about it later anyway, so I think he got her hip in place. And she started to cry, and he's like, what's going on, She said, because they'd set her up, and she said, I can feel the carpet beneath my feet, is what she said. And she hadn't been able to do that in years. So, basically, he pulled people out of wheelchairs, And so his research, I can eliminate chronic pain, and I can restore sensation is what I can do. I myself had a case. He had, I think it was called peripheral neuropathy. He wore a brace on the lower half of his legs, I think both of them, and he couldn't feel his feet. And he'd seen me on Pegasus, and he wanted to know if it would help him. And I think I seen him 3 times, but in the first session, his hip was out of place, and I got the hip in place. And he immediately reported, he said, that's different, is what he said. And I said, what's going on? And he said he had a tingling sensation like needles in his feet. And like, well, your feet go to sleep, and then you're sitting on it, whatever, and, a strange position you move, and blood flow comes back into it, and nerves come in there, the signal gets through. So basically we woke the tissues up in his feet. And then I did some soft tissue work. I'm sure I would have looked at the head on top too. And the follow-up is soft tissue related. But I think I seen him 3 times, and he was good to go. He could throw out his braces, and he was just done with that crap, Anyway, I've seen miracles, literal miracles over and over and over again. But the biggest miracle I would like to see is an awakening of the public. The public has got to wake up. The public has got to start talking about what I know. They've got to start letting their representatives know that, look, we know where the specialist is at. We know where the source is at. We know, where the original is. We know. And we want you to do something about what needs to be done to solve the problem. And we want healthcare reform. We're tired of the bullshit. We're tired of the stuff that doesn't work. We want, honest to God, common sense, and we want our doctors retrained. They've got to know about nutrition. They have to. If they don't understand that, then they have no business passing pills. In fact, the stuff I use, I use cayenne pepper. I haven't had to use that near as much since I found blackberries. So blackberries, I read, I was looking for stem cell, what helps stem cells. And I think I found blackberries. And then they were talking about cocoa beans, I think it was, but then just what's the natural form of blackberries is what they said. So not too long ago, I was eating like 4 cayenne peppers a day. Because what happens is that ever so often, I haven't had it happen in a long time, but I would get a sensation of somebody squeezing me around the base of the heart is what it felt like somebody grabbed me at the base of the heart and just squeezed is what it felt like. And cayenne pepper, I'd take that and immediately I could feel the pressure coming off. And anyway, so I ate a lot of cayenne pepper, kept it with me. In fact, I think I might even have a couple. I might. Let me see if I have it. I don't have them right now. But as a rule, I keep them on me. I was out and about yesterday and I had a couple in my pocket. But I keep them on me just in case, because I can feel, and if I feel that sensation at all, then, I'll take a cayenne pepper and immediately takes the pressure off. But I've been in car accidents, and when August was in the car accident, she had and I don't think that they had any business going into her chest cavity, but sudden stop, well, actually, let's see here. She got hit, is what happened. 1,000 pounds moving at 65 miles an hour. She got hit. And on the passenger side, on the driver's side, she was in the driver's seat and she got hit on the driver's side. And anyway, jarred her about, and her heart, has weight to it. So it moved faster than what the aorta did, I guess it was. And because it was that particular injury, they went looking for, and it ended up being just a very small, slightly swollen aorta at the base of her heart. And so, they go in, they cut open her entire chest cavity, and they replace a piece of her aorta. I don't think it was even required. I think if they'd, given her a handful of blackberries, and stood by with cayenne pepper, I don't think it was even required. And maybe that's what happened to me. I've been in car accidents, sudden stops and that kind of stuff. The heart moves forward, damaged, whatever. And that's kind of what I think happened to me. So the same injury she suffered, I probably had too. But I have never even gone to the doctor for it. In fact, I told my roommate, told my boss in my old job, I said, if anything happens to me, I said, you could just get, some of that cayenne pepper up underneath my tongue. I said, I absolutely do not want to wake up in an emergency room. I said, no, you're not going to call anybody. I know how to deal with a heart attack. My whole issue started when I was 33, as far as me noticing anything major. And it started with thiamine deficiency. Yeah. Vitamin B. And anyway, I survived it. Went to bed. They said 3 weeks in bed and 2 years to feel strong. And that's, statistically speaking, that's exactly what it was. Kind of looking over my shoulder, I'm like, that was a heart attack. And it felt like, I know what angina feels like. It's like I got kicked in the chest by a mule, is what it felt like, And I survived it. And then recently I found the blackberries, and since I've been eating the blackberries, and I eat them almost daily sometimes. I just had a handful a little while ago. But I noticed after I started eating the blackberries that I don't need the cayenne pepper. Not near as much. It's not like I don't take it sometimes, and I will. I'm prudent. I keep it around me just in case. I'm cautious, But, it's nutrition. It's nutrition. If you have a healthcare system, doctors that are prepared and willing, knowing about, the gifts from God and our foods, and we need to get the damn pesticides out of our, the poisons out of our food supply. But the doctors knew about that, and they were wise and prudent and sent people and me, to fix the frame, then yeah, your healthcare cost goes down to next to nothing. I get calls all the time. I think it's Medicare, Medicaid, whatever, assuming that I've got it. I'm like, quite frankly, that's an invasion of privacy. And I'm offended in the fact that you would even ask, you know, to start with. Oh, they're trying to explain it away. I'm like, no. I said, I don't buy into the sick care system. I don't use it. I don't want to have anything to do with it until you guys are willing to pay for my services, you know, and bring it in as it should be brought in. I'm unplugged. I have opted out. I want nothing to do with it, and I can stand my ground, and I have done that for decades now. I don't participate in the bullshit of the healthcare system. And what happened in August kind of, you know, polarized. I mean, it solidified my position on that. Yeah. And thank God that I know Grandpa's work, because I don't hurt. I can take care of myself, and I don't need their crap. I don't need it. You know, I don't go to a chiropractor. I don't go to a massage therapist. Although I paired up with a massage therapist before, you know, but ultimately I end up being the one that takes care of them. So, I said, what I'm learning about now is nutrition more than anything else. You know, oh, and I got a little problem with my tooth. I keep hoping that it's going to fall out. I got one right now. It's come up. I'll show you. It's come up and it's coming out. It's sore a little bit. But that's the only thing I've got going on. Only thing. And like I said, I don't use their healthcare industry. You know, I thought about going to a dentist, but it's like, nah, this is coming out on its own. We'll see. If I do, I mean, I wear glasses, you know. Sometimes I see better without them, you know. I hear about eye exercises, so I need to look into that too. And I had somebody I knew, she said, actually, if you eat protein, she said protein is essential for eye health, which I don't eat enough of that. But anyway, you'd be surprised too. People have come to me with information on cancer that's been suppressed, you know, just in the fact that I'm an alternative provider, you know. I used to work for the library. The book, The Cure for All Cancers, was actually requested by a patron. I took the request and the library bought it. I took that book to my grandfather when he was still living, and I asked him to review it and look over it. And he read it through, and he said, I think she's onto something. And what they're saying is that it's parasites. In fact, I think I heard recently ivermectin, I think it was, is supposed to be a cure for cancer, which I do believe ivermectin is for parasites, if I recall. I've got people joining, but no comments. Anyway, I've got more research I'd like to do about that. But yes, we are animals, the human animal. So we have a problem with parasites. We have a problem with pesticides and poisons in our food supply. We have a problem with our government, you know, basically taking dirty money from the doctors, you know, and a broken healthcare system that, you know, refuses to raise their standards on all fronts. I mean, the revolutionary, you know, cures are suppressed, you know, nutrition, you know, and other things, but something so basic, so simple as having your pelvis level and your head on straight. And that is my area of expertise. Believe me, they don't want that out. They do not want people to know what life could be like if they don't have, you know, that to have to contend with. You know, the first sign is pain, you know, and paralysis, you know. But you get those squared up, you have full use of your body. You have no pain to contend with. You know, healing, the healer within is free to do its job. You know, and life is good, as Grandpa would say. So, my friend's up. So, hi guys. I guess I'm going to go for now. I appreciate the fact that anybody stuck around for any length of time. Please check out my videos. And I am very critical of the chiropractic industry. Extremely so, but with good cause. And basically, I've turned them into a laughing stock. Yeah, in fact, when I got pressed way back when, they said it was Beth Kelly, I think it was. It was absolutely disturbing that me, Tammy Kennedy, makes a mockery of licensed chiropractic care, definitely. Like, yeah, with a good cause. And they know the reason. They know. Grandpa was, my driving force. And it's his research that escaped them. And now we got these idiots trying to copycat me that know nothing about it because they're trying to learn it by osmosis from afar instead of putting their money on the table, taking their humble pill, their humble pie, and learning it right. All the government has to do is basically let the public know, hey, we found the source, we're going to point our websites to her website so that she can let you know what practitioners are in different states and cities. If they were to actually do it right, I could so easily disseminate that information through my website. And that's as simple as it is. I mean, easy peasy. I'll see you guys later.